sitting there trying to attune to my workers doing some blending, and I said, well, I'm speechless, I have no idea what I'm going to say, and I just heard it's about time. When I read the end of Gordon Higginson, who his works I do admire, as I admire many of the works of the past prophets, who I like to address them as, and even our own members of the church in whom I see great courage, and our ministers in whom I see great courage to do the work and move forward. I think of the 7 principles, and I look at the 7 principles, and I thought, you know, maybe we do need to change something. And I'm totally against changing the 7 principles, but something in me says, maybe we need to add something. Number 8, the infinity. Maybe we need to add prayer. They forgot about prayer. You know, prayer is our way to God. And when I'm thinking, if we can serve God, how do we serve God in all that we do? How do we take that creation and we bring that into everything we do? Because when I read the words, and he says, if we can serve God in everything we do, then we have an understanding of all our relationships in life. Whether they're good or whether they're making enemies or friends, or whether we're serving people in our workplace. How are we to do that? And it's kind of interesting how everyone will have their own perspective of it, because we understand that we all have wings to fly, and if we choose to open the door to the illumination, it's by prayer, through prayer, in that stillness and in that quietness. And I'm sitting on, most of you know that I moved to Sechelt, and I have no one in front of me but trees and ocean and eagles and bears, and we have a huge deck. And I look out at the ocean, and Ben comes out and he says, what are you looking at? I said, I'm looking at God. I said, this is God. And then I thought, how small of me to think that I'm looking at God, looking at the ocean and in the trees. And then I thought, if we look at each other, it could be a stranger. You look in their eyes, and what are we looking at? We're looking at God, right? We don't have to love everybody, but we can see the God within everybody and know that everybody's on their own journey. In the song, Open My Eyes, and some of the songs that we sing, and it addresses that, we're not responsible. We're not responsible for how another person takes on their journey of life. We're not responsible to tell them to do it this way or to do it that way. What we are is here to maybe give them an opportunity to think that maybe there's more. Give them something to think about. We don't tell them what to do. Dogma and creed is an entrapment. I feel it's an entrapment. Remember, whatever I say here is my own opinion. But dogma and creed is an imprisonment and an entrapment of what other people want you to think. Here we encourage you to think for yourself. And how would you like to think for yourself and find out who you are? And many people say, I hope I'm on purpose. Am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing in life? Is this what I need to be doing? And my goodness, all you need to do is go into prayer and know, just by being here, just by being present, just by being able to serve the best you can in whatever you're doing, you're on purpose. How can you not be? It took a lot of work for this integration from the spirit into the physical body. Even though there's many of us, it doesn't come that easy. And in order to take that blending, and I believe it happens as we get older for most of us, because we identify with the physical, right? We identify with the physical, things we can see, things we can touch, things we can smell, and all these senses and all these amazing things when we first are opening up to all of life experiences from a child. And we're integrating that part into the soul that we are, that we came into the life with. So we're doing this blending. But then we're bombarded with life, We're bombarded by people's beliefs. We're bombarded by what we're told is right and wrong. And all of a sudden, that soul part of us seems to shrink a little bit back, and that physical part seems to step forward. So I'm finding for myself as I get older, the physical part isn't as important. It's that soul part that is starting to be immersive and finding out what's really important and priorities in our life. Because I don't know about you, but as we get older, everybody's going home to the spirit world. You know? There's another person, there's another person. And it just becomes a way of life. And how blessed are we that we know that upon the golden shores of Etheria is all our family, friends waiting for us. That we know that there's a continuation of life after death. How many people don't know that and live in fear? You know? How are you going to live the rest of your life? Are you know, there's limited beliefs, and when I say about dogma and creed and in the imprisonment, it's the only thing that holds us back is our own belief system, our own thought system. So in order to release that, we have to go into that God source. We have to go into that droplet of God that we are, that beautiful soul source, and the only way to do that is to become quiet, right? And be in gratitude, and then maybe get illumined in that moment of grace when we feel the light of God, and there's that blending with that higher self, and from the higher self to a higher creation, that we know that all is right, that we know that this is temporary, that whatever we're doing here, it's all right if we're here for the purpose to serve God and only God. For if I'm serving you, I'm serving God. If I'm serving in the workplace, I'm serving God. If I'm cleaning my house, I'm serving God. Of course, we all are human. Emma Britton Hardinge had said, spiritualism is divine. Spiritualists are only human. So yes, we also have to have that forgiveness for ourselves and that ability to understand and forgive that human part of us and learn that integration into that beautiful soul self. And when you see somebody and the light goes on, when they come from that place of pain and the light goes on in their eyes and they realize who they truly are, it's just magic. Is it not magic? I believe it's magic. And you can see that person has purpose. And of course, most of you know that I work with addictions, and I work in the methadone clinic in mental health. And the people come in and their eyes are dead. They've lost connection to the illumination of their soul. So what do they need, right? They don't need anyone to tell them, don't do drugs. They don't need anybody to tell them what they're doing right or wrong. They just need us to love them and support them. They just need to see what you have in your life, and maybe they want to get out of their pain. Because let's face it, most people that are introduced into the drug world are introduced because they're in pain of some sort, whether mental, physical, or emotional, and to get entrapped in that. And here we are to love them back. Some of them make it and some of them don't. And it's a sad thing with the drugs nowadays because most of them don't make it back. But the thing is, we don't waste that message. And, you know, Gordon was talking about the Lyceum as well. And the Lyceums are when they're like a Sunday school. And the spiritualist churches have them in England and some in the States. But it's learning to show the young people who they are. And it's not to teach them about mediumship and spiritualism. It's to teach them about how they can incorporate their life into the now. Who are we now? Who are we as people in this world? And how can we use what we have and our gifts to serve in life present now? Don't be afraid of the future. Don't be afraid of what we're creating in our mind that's really to be untrue, because whatever we propose to do in the future usually turns out the way it's supposed to be, not the way we want it to be anyway. So why waste your energy there? Why not waste your energy here? So teaching all the young, and now I feel that's what is really important, and you see that in the schools, because they're incorporating yoga, they're incorporating these teachings to help people deal with real tools of dealing with the world, finding out who they are with philosophy. And I'm very proud that my son's a counselor in one of the high schools. excuse me, and he very often shares stories with me. And he runs this club after school, and it's the gays and lesbians. And he can often see before they know, or whether they know and they're too afraid to tell anybody. And he will say, you know, we have this club after school. If you'd like just to come and sit and see what you think about it. Oh, no. You don't have to talk, you just have to sit there. And then he preps his little club and he says, you know, this person's going to come, it's the first time. I want you to be real and talk about your life. So I remember the one time that he told me this person came in, and he encouraged the group to talk about their life, and most of them, they are a family. That is their family. And once he says to this one person, he says, how did this go for you when you came out to your parents? And these are all grade 8ers that started, and then it went up. And they said, well, my parents disowned me. And he said, oh. And he says, so would you, if you had to do it all over again, not tell them? And he says, not at all. He said, it's the best thing I ever did. He says, I've got my family now. And this person, after the group had finished, came to him so excited to be able to find his people, right? And be able to find who he is and be happy with who he is. And this is how we're starting to incorporate love into the world. Something very terrible just happened where I lived. Well, things are terrible all over the place, let's face it. And what we do with it is how we react as people, as spiritual people. We have rainbow crosswalks. And in Gibson's, they just painted these beautiful crosswalks, and it was for Pride Month. And yesterday, somebody came and painted over them white. And you should have seen the outcry just in a day. So this morning, it was all posted on our Sunshine Coast reporter. There were people out there, and they're painting them all the same color, the rainbow colors again. There's all these people are holding up flags, doing marches and doing dances, and the whole community came together to say this is unacceptable. Love is love, it doesn't matter who you are. So I think we're getting it, you know? I think we're getting it. So there is a love for each other. And I really feel that in this community and in our opportunities to serve God, sometimes it's just so difficult to serve ourselves. Sometimes you have to be the God you're serving. Because maybe you need the help. Maybe you need to sit in that space and let the other people come and help you. And that's so important to be open to that, because when you're allowing someone in, when you're vulnerable, you're serving God, because it's giving them some purpose. And that's what I feel, that this interaction and this shutting down that we do and putting on this facade is so wrong. And yes, there's boundaries and there's the way that we do things. But I love how we come together here. I love how we're a family. I love how we're from the same tribe. And I love that we're not preachy. And I love that we just want to serve and be in love. And thank you for